How you doing today?
Yeah, not bad. How about you? How's your day?
Yeah, good. Staying in Thailand at the moment, so I just got it yesterday, so I'm just trying to get used to like being in new locations.
Sick.
But it's not bad here. It's good weather and good to get away from the UK.
Nice. Where are you from originally?
Just outside of London, Watford.
Oh, Watford. Okay. Yeah, nice,
Yeah.
man. I'm originally from Bristol, so about an hour and a half away. So I've been out of the UK since March this year. So March 20, yeah, about 4 or 5 months. Yeah,
How's that going?
it's great, man. Yeah, I'm in Dubai now. So yeah, much different way of life compared to the UK. And yeah, that's the reason I moved here, man. I just love this place, mate. The weather, the gyms, like everything is just set up perfectly, you know? So yeah.
Nice man. So what do you exactly do? How do you help people? Who do you help? And why'd you get into it?
Yeah, exactly. So I run a health coaching business for like entrepreneurs and high performers, and I actually got into it when I was at university. So I was basically a young 21-year-old, and the one thing that I had going for me was that I was in good shape. So a lot of people around me were kind of asking me questions like, "Hey man, how do you get in shape? How do you do this? How do you train? I'm going on holiday, etc." So I was pretty in demand for like fitness advice and help. So I decided to build a website after my first year of uni that kind of blogged a little bit about my fitness journey and also offered some form of fitness package in terms of like a meal plan, a training program, something for people to follow. And I remember on the first day that I actually launched it, I launched it on Facebook and got all my friends to share it. And I got a sale on the first day. Like someone paid me like £75 or something for like a fitness package, which I was over the moon about because I was really unsure that people were actually going to uptake it. And, I felt like a bit of an imposter. But that happened. And yeah, from then on, I took it as a passion. I did it alongside university. I did it alongside getting a corporate job. I then left the corporate role. I went broke. I was filling vending machines. And then, yeah, I decided to help entrepreneurs specifically after that full time and run the business. And that kind of takes us to where we are today. So yeah, it's been a bit of a ride.
Yeah, it sounds like a ride. Talk to me a little bit about the time at the vending machine company. I'm quite interested about that.
Yes. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, what made you go into that, and then what made you make the switch and just going all in on fitness?
Yeah, good question. So I was at the time well, let's go back to before the vending machines. I was working a corporate job in central London, a job that I really didn't like. I got it after graduating university. It wasn't really my passion, but I was told that this was the path that you should follow, right? You go to university, you get a degree, you get a job, and you get a house, you retire, and that's it, right? So that's what I thought life looked like and the success looked like. 6 months into doing it, I realized that this just wasn't for me. The job, the environment, the whole thing just didn't align with me. So I quit. I decided to quit and I had some money from the website and the side business of coaching that I had, but it wasn't that much. So I decided at the beginning of 2019, I believe it was, to go into running my business full time, go into doing that alongside some freelance work. And what happened was the freelance work kind of dried up. And also, I wasn't making enough money through my business. And a few months passed and I was like broke. Like, I wasn't going to be able to make my rent payment, which is never good. So, the friend that I was living with at the time had a vending machine company. And he said to me, "Look, like, I know you want to run your business, want to support you. If you want to pay your rent, go and fill vending machines. I've got the company, I can give you the job there. Wake up at 4 a.m., drive the van around, fill chocolate bars, go around to the different sites, fill the coffee machines, come back. You'll be done by 4 p.m. and then you can work on your business after." And I thought, you know what? I don't want to go back to the corporate job. I want to do this business full time, long term. This vending machine job will kind of keep me going and pay the bills. So I did that. And, it was funny because it was one of the most stressful periods of my life because I was waking up early, doing like a 12-hour day, coming home, going to the gym, working on my business, not sleeping very much, and then continuing. And then what happened was this thing called COVID happened after, a few kind of months. You go into 2019, C19 happens, and you go into 2020. And what happened is my business began to pick up. And, I left the vending machine company. And because, everybody was online and, not in the gym, they were looking at Instagram and stuff like that. I started promoting my business online. And this is where I found Twitter. And I started seeing a lot of people sharing their views on Twitter and things like that. So I started to do this. And then we fast forward to kind of 4 years later, I'm now running this business full time and helping entrepreneurs and high performing people from all over the world. So yeah, that's a little bit of a story of what happened.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I can really relate to that because I graduated 5 years ago now, and I've been in 6 corporate jobs since then. I've been fired twice. I've left 2 times, and now I'm actually following my passion. I definitely relate to the feeling of like going into work and not wanting to be there, wanting to do something where you actually fulfill your potential and you actually work something that aligns with your values, your passion. I've been doing it for fucking cool, man. Yeah, definitely relate. Okay, so you work with entrepreneurs. What are the biggest struggles that they've
Great question. I think one of the main things for entrepreneurs is the time side of things because they are so pressed for time. Majority of their time is dedicated towards building the business and putting out fires and doing all that kind of stuff. So time is a big consideration. Another thing is like energy management as well and stress management because as an entrepreneur, you're under a lot of pressure every day. This causes a lot of stress. And because all of your energy is being taken by the fact that you're running a business, it's very hard to want to dedicate that and find the energy to dedicate that towards, your health and fitness and training. So those things I would say are really important. When we talk about stress as well, you've got to think about stress eating too. So when you've gone through a really, really long day and you're really hungry and you've dealt with a lot of stuff, nothing feels better than ordering an Uber Eats, man, or getting some cookies because who doesn't love cookies, right? At the end of the day, and just eating the stress away and dealing with stuff like that, and then maybe not getting much sleep and waking up the next day and repeating that. So a lot of it is around undoing a lot of the bad habits and removing a lot of the bad food that comes with that as well. Because as an entrepreneur, your stress levels are maxed. And when stress is high, it's so much easier to then fall into bad habits, vices, alcohol, junk food, and things like that that are not conducive to your health.
Yeah, often it's not about adding loads of things in, especially when you're pressed for time. It's actually about taking the things that don't serve you out, whether that's alcohol, even like binge watching Netflix 1 hour late at night. That's 1 hour that you could be going and getting your steps in the morning. And I do encourage people to try and think about what they could take out of their life that creates space for the good things naturally.
100%.
So something you tweeted was doing the opposite of what 99% of people are doing is a great mental model for success. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, for sure. So when you look at maybe society in general, the average person. So let's take the average person in the United States. I think let's look at it from a fitness perspective. And this is obviously just factual, right? Not trying to talk down on people, but factually, like the average American male is like 28% body fat. Okay. So 28% body fat is not a low level of body fat. It's probably double the body fat that you should actually have at a healthy level. So if the majority of people are doing at 28% body fat, what are the majority of people doing each day? Well, the likelihood is they're probably not controlling their diet. They're probably not aware of the amount of exercise they're doing. They're probably not looking after their sleep. They probably might not even know what to do. So if you want to be ordinary, you do ordinary things, right? If you want to be extraordinary, you want to be exceptional, you got to do exceptional things. And sometimes that exceptional means not always grandiose and amazing, but maybe different to what everyone else is doing. Maybe it's saying no to things a lot more than other people. Maybe it's not going out as much and spending as much money on stuff that's rubbish. Maybe it's instead of spending time watching Netflix, devoting time towards trash, politics, and all the bullshit that you see, is devoting 2 hours a day or an hour a day towards reading and spending time there. When someone flips you off at a roundabout or someone's rude to you, instead of reacting and getting emotional, maybe it's about being stoic and being calm and actually realizing a lot of people are projecting that you don't need to react, right? So it's trying to do the opposite of what a lot of people do because you don't want the same scenario or the same things as them. And when you look at society, a lot of people aren't where they want to be because maybe they've got the wrong map or mental model of the rules to follow or the things to follow. So doing the opposite of them can actually serve you well a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think it comes back to your point of we get conditioned thinking that perhaps going to university, getting a high paying job, and working up the ranks is actually what makes us happy. Loads of people do that and then have property, they're fat, they're tired, they're not happy, and maybe doing something different is a better option, but we're not exposed to that at school and at university.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think, and I was having this discussion today, the modern environment is not conducive to make people happy, right? And I look at this in like 3 different areas. So the first area is around what movements are going on in society that are causing people to be unhappy. So the first one you look at is like feminism, right? And removal of traditionalism. When you move towards more of a feminist society, what's happening is they're trying to divide men and women away from each other, that women don't need men, men don't need women. And straight away, like, that's going to cause you to be unhappy. If the opposite sex, if you've been told by society the opposite sex doesn't need you, you're not going to connect, right? So that's one thing, right? The second thing is the fact that social media is prevalent now. So, before, social media would not impact happiness and relationships. Like, you could be living a great life in somewhere in the UK, but you can go on Instagram and you can see someone in Thailand or in Dubai or something like that, and straight away you think, fuck, this guy's got a better life than me. On the relationship side, that also impacts relationships, because if you're in a relationship, you get in an argument, it only takes one partner to get angry and go on Instagram and find another partner, right? So the accessibility to stuff like that is so much easier now. And then finally, when you look at Western society, especially, there's not much religion or a connection with God. And when we look at religion, it doesn't have to be a man in the sky, but it's about alignment with like some kind of moral code. That's what religion is. It's having a moral code. So when you have a moral code, the great thing about this is ensures you're having the right behaviors that are going to allow you to live a life that is away from degeneracy, right? And a lot of stuff that you see with LGBTQ, a lot of the stuff that the West pushes is around degeneracy. And we want to move away from degeneracy and more towards a moral code to live well. So I think a lot of modern society, especially those three things, really impacts happiness, relationships, and things like that.
Yeah, I really agree. Like social media, especially, it's one of those things that you're seeing the tip of the iceberg of someone else's life every single time you go on there. Because most people only post things that are good because that's what gets liked and that's what's get people to follow, because people want to follow people that they aspire to be. So what are your top tips for people? I guess entrepreneurs probably go through this too, but just general people on social media will like avoid having those negative impacts from social media, but still use it in a healthy way.
It's a really good question because for me, I'm addicted to social media because it's my job, right? And I have to be on here. So I would say to people that are not building a personal brand or not making money online, for example, or let's just say you're a regular person, I think it's like to limit the amount of time you're actually on social media, because you know, the amount of time that you spend on there is easy to get drawn into arguments, into politics, and this pendulum of, you know, what's currently going on, right? Should we argue about, you know, Gaza and Israel? Should we argue about Russia and Ukraine today? Should we argue about Trump and Biden? And you can argue about everything online, right? And it takes away energy and focus from the things that you should be focusing on. I think if you are to use it, you should use it smartly. So algorithms actually teach you what you like, right? So if you go onto your Instagram and you start liking photos of girls in bikinis, politics, and people arguing, your algorithm is going to show you that, right? It's going to continue to feed the ego and the pendulum, like I mentioned. So the thing that you should do is, okay, try and follow people that are, and I try to do this a lot on Twitter, is people that inspire you, people that are, you know, positive, that are doing good things, that are not maybe, you know, again, like other people and maybe pushing negativity or gossip and stuff like that, and follow those kinds of people, because the more that you follow that, the algorithm is going to show you more of that stuff. So as soon as you go onto social media, it's actually a conducive thing for you to do, right? Instead of going on it and arguing about politics or liking photos of Instagram models that are never going to speak to you, right? It's about, you know, using this in a smart and intelligent way, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Quote that I think potentially Chris Williamson said was, the content that you can is the substrate of your thought. So like
Great quote.
everything that you consume just becomes your thoughts essentially. So if you're consuming all this bad shit, then that's just going to become your thoughts, and then you're going to feel so negative throughout the day. And if you can filter what you're consuming, then that's also going to influence your thoughts in a positive.
100% agree. Yeah.
So you're obviously like a physique expert, I would say. I've seen your physique online. It's
Thanks.
I have a lot of people that I know that are like, a lot of Indian people, especially, they're skinny and they struggle with, and that it could be males or they could be females, and they have a low muscle mass percentage, but they have a little bit of a belly. How would you get them into the best shape possible within maybe a 6-month time frame? What sort of plan would you get them on?
Yeah, good question. Firstly, I think 6 months is a really good time frame for skinny fat people, because again, it depends on the extremity, but we found like our transformations in 6 months, you can make a really meaningful progress. So I think the first thing is, the biggest lever that you need to move is your nutrition, right? First. So with this, for a skinny fat, you need to focus on a high protein, kind of sort of lowish carbs diet for a skinny fat. The reason being is you want to lose body fat and build muscle, right? So to lose body fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. Having high protein and low, you know, carbohydrates is really going to make that easy. And then you want to build muscle in the process, and increasing the amount of muscle mass that you, the protein that you have is going to increase the amount of muscle that you're going to be able to gain as well. So that is smart. And also carbohydrates are stored as fat in the body. So your body doesn't actually need that many carbohydrates. Like your body can utilize the carbs from the fats that you've kind of created within your body. So that's the first thing, is a high protein diet for skinny fat people. I'd really recommend with low amount of carbohydrates. The next thing would be your training. So from a training perspective, you want to focus primarily on resistance training. So this is weights 3 to 5 days a week as a minimum. If you can get up towards 5, you know, you're going to make progress quicker. It's good. And you want to focus on the main compound lifts and lift in between 6 to 15 reps. The reason being is the compound exercises are going to help with high androgen receptor muscle groups within your body. So basically the muscle groups that use, you know, the most energy, the most muscles within your body. So the ROI of the time you're in the gym is going to be so much more useful. So squat, bench, deadlift, rows, variations of these with dumbbells, barbells, machines are going to be good. And you want to focus on progressive overload. So progressively, how can we increase the sets, the reps, the rest periods, right? Sets, reps, weight that you're going to lift, kind of bring that up as you progress. Now, if you do that, that's going to make a big difference. The next thing is going to be around recovery and lifestyle, which is huge. So sleep is so important. Like a lack of sleep destroys your life, but it also destroys fat loss and muscle gain. So if you're skinny fat, you need to optimize for 7 to 8 hours of sleep to really improve testosterone production, recovery, allow your body and mind to focus and not have that release of cortisol, which, inhibits fat loss. So sleep is vital. And then on top of that is like optimizing that lifestyle to not be drinking tons of alcohol, because alcohol is basically just lost calories, and that's not going to be optimal when it comes to losing body fat and building muscle, because it's going to impact your training and cause you to consume more calories, skip the gym, and probably eat more junk food. So that would be my basic plan for skinny fat individuals to really optimize their physique in 6 months.
Yeah, and I think what you're describing there is a real kind of lifestyle overhaul in some ways. I think
Yeah.
it's about changing your identity, and you have to say that you're Oliver before you become Oliver, and you have to build those habits in before you see the results of it, and you have to expect that you have to do these things without seeing anything from it, and then over time you'll see the results and you'll get better. Although 6 months is not even a long time, so.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, you made a great point about identity shift, because at the start, you're going to be doing things that are going to be against your identity, because maybe you've held the identity that I'm the skinny fat guy for a while. So you've now got to revamp your whole diet, eat, 4 meals with 50 grams of protein in, right? You've got to go to the gym 3 to 5 days a week and do lifts that you've not done. It's kind of like, well, I've always been the skinny fat guy. I've now got to lift these heavy weights and like change my diet. It's a big identity shift. And the thing is, this is the hardest within the first 4 weeks or the first 6 weeks, right? It's so difficult to start this because you're going against, there's so much resistance. You're going against the natural behaviors that you're used to. However, there's a reason why most people quit, within the first 6 weeks of the year, right? Their New Year's resolutions, because you don't see the results to begin with. The first few weeks are not great. Once you've got past that initial bit of inertia, it gets so much easier. You see yourself in the mirror, you're like, oh, that protein's not so bad. I can do these sessions. Oh, I'm starting to lose the belly fat. I can see my arms getting bigger. And then like the consistency to stick with that is so much easier. But the beginning is the hardest, and creating the identity shift is the hardest. But the only way you can create the identity shift is to actually build the habits and do the work that actually turn you into the person that is the new identity, right? So as much manifestation and as much, visualization as you do in your head, which is all good, by the way, it doesn't matter unless you do the fucking work, right? So that's really the key.
Yeah, you have to act and prove to yourself that you're this type of person. And you can only create that belief in your head if you act. You have to act without belief at the beginning.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so let's talk about, and I think I've seen you post about gut health in the ball blowing up at the moment. There's people like Tim Speck, like blowing up with Zoe. So what do you know about it, and how do you optimize it?
Yeah, absolutely. So like gut health is like really big. The reason being is because a lot of the foods that we eat and our lifestyles really don't optimize for a healthy gut. So you look at like alcohol, junk food, stress, all of these things are going to have an impact on gut health. Now, the gut is basically called the second brain, and this actually links to, your emotions, your thoughts, your decision making, all of this kind of stuff. So if you've got a messed up gut, it's likely going to transpire in other parts of your life that you're a bit foggy in the head. You can't make the right decisions. You don't feel as good. Maybe you've got a bit of anxiety. Your emotions are high. So what you want to do is treat your gut as one of the most important things. Now, to do that, cleaning up your diet can be very important. So this can be reducing the amount of alcohol you have, cleaning up your diet. And I think the diet's one of the biggest things, because you want to ensure that you've got things like pre and probiotics within your diet. So switching things up and having like kefir, you can have sourdough bread, because it's been fermented, and fermented foods are going to help improve your gut health. Now, if you improve that, that's going to help, obviously you go into the bathroom and stuff like that, but it's also going to help with your focus and your energy levels each day. And if we bring this back to entrepreneurs and executives, your brain's important, just the same as the way you look, because your decision making will dictate how much money you make, how you deal with your employees, your day to day. So being able to optimize your gut health is so important. And again, the things that cause stress are usually the things that cause bad gut health, right? Stress is a lack of sleep, terrible diet, drinking lots of alcohol, not taking care of yourself. All of those things cause a bad gut. So if you can help deal with the stress and obviously manage that well, by exercising, doing the right things for you, optimizing your diet to have those pre and probiotics, fermented foods. There's some other things that you can do as well. Eating fruits like blueberries will also help those. That will improve your gut health, which then makes tackling problems a lot easier. And of course, going to the bathroom as well.
And how do you know that you've got a healthy gut? Like, what is the real like symptoms of a healthy gut, and I guess vice versa, an unhealthy?
Yeah, for sure. So I think like an unhealthy gut would be if you're getting a lot of like pain in your stomach, that's a thing that you should worry about. If you're getting like elevated levels of anxiety, if you're eating food and you're having either issues going to the bathroom, you're not able to go, or when you do go, it is not what it usually is, right? There's diarrhea
Mhm.
there or something bad, then that could be an issue. If you really just feel that this discomfort and these cramps within your stomach, it's likely your gut health is not great. So those would be sort of the indicators of an unhealthy gut.
Okay. No, yeah, good to know. I think it's important to understand what the things are to look out for, as well as
Yeah.
the things are doing well. Because I guess with a lot of things, the gut is also quite personalized. That's what Zoe always talk about. And so
Yep.
maybe there's something that's messing up. Like for me, I'm lactose intolerant, and so I've got to avoid lactose, unfortunately, even though I really do.
Yeah, for sure. You make a good point. Like there are specific foods for some people that really disrupt the gut. And one of the things that we do is like a gut health test with our clients. And when we do that, it actually comes back with, what are the right foods that you should eat for your gut? Like what are your superfoods? What are the things that are okay? And what are the things mainly that you should avoid? And it's really interesting to see the foods that you avoid, because if you eat those foods daily, it's kind of like, oh shit, it's a big wake up call to then understand that actually this might be having an impact on, why I don't feel great.
Yeah, no, that's a really cool thing that you have as part of your package. To be fair, I think that's great. What are the things that people can do to take their sleep? Because I know a lot of people that struggle with sleep. Probably something that comes up a lot. So what are the quick things that people can implement to just improve their sleep and make it higher quality?
Yeah. So I think with sleep, it really starts like in the morning. So when you wake up, trying to get some form of like sunlight is great. If you're in a warm climate like you are, Thailand, I'm in, Dubai, it's very easy to actually go outside and get natural sunlight. This is important because this is releases melatonin. And when you release melatonin, what this does is it actually aids in your sleep quality in the evening before you go to bed. So again, that's a great start to the day that you can have. One of the main things too is caffeine. Caffeine is really overconsumed by a lot of people, and it's that easy cycle to have where you haven't slept very well, so you abuse caffeine for the whole day and you drink it late on, and then that obviously impacts sleep quality. So what I'd recommend is minimizing caffeine to until sort of, I know there's some research now to say 13 hours before you go to bed it impacts. I usually like to cut off between sort of 12 and 2 p.m., like nothing after 2 p.m., because then that allows me 8+ hours to before I go to bed at least to then a period to sleep. What I'd also recommend as well is your sleep environment. So the three main things from an environment perspective that impact sleep are heat, noise, and light. So you want to ensure that your room is cool, you want to ensure that it's dark, and you want to ensure that it's quiet, right? Those three things are going to be really important. Now, if you can't manifest that, or sorry, create that yourself, you've got to find ways around doing it. For example, let's say if you live next to a busy road and there are Ferraris driving right down the road, then you need to find a way to get some earplugs that are going to help with that. If there's light issues, you need to buy blackout blinds. If it's always hot, you need to have some form of fan or air conditioning or something like that that's going to help. But those are the three main factors. Now, with the consistency side of things, the body likes routine and it likes going to the bed at the same time. So what I'd also recommend is having like a consistent sleep and wake time. So if you've maybe finished work at like 8 p.m., try and stick to that, or whatever time it is, have a wind down time of maybe an hour, 2 hours, and then try and go to bed at 10 p.m. or whatever time it is. But you want to keep that consistent, the same with the time that you wake up. And I'd also recommend this on weekends as well, because for some reason people like to think that their body changes on weekends. It doesn't, right? Biologically, your body doesn't know what a weekend or a weekday is. So you want to ensure that you can just have maybe consistent time to train and sleep, and not a different time, because that's going to mess up your circadian rhythm.
Yeah, I think that consistency thing is really important. If you go to sleep 4 hours later on the weekend, it's pretty much like going into a different time zone.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, like people were so fucked after a flight with jet lag, etc. And so they're gonna feel the same way, and that's why everyone on a Monday morning at corporate job is pretty groggy, and they're like, "Oh yeah, like long week, and feeling a bit tired."
Always.
And what about I saw a tweet about tea, honey, and glycine? All of
Yeah, so that's a good addition actually. So with a pre-sleep routine, if you do all those things that I mentioned, I think adding in chamomile tea can be great. The reason being is chamomile tea can actually help with like relaxing the body and aiding sleep quality. Obviously, there's no caffeine in chamomile either. So again, if you like to have a drink at night, and I know some people, like my mum, for example, she'll drink coffee before she goes to bed. It's strange, and like tea and stuff, right? Which I never understand, because for like a habitual side of things, she's always just enjoyed having like a hot drink before you go to bed. So if you're that kind of person, like having something to drink is good. It also puts a frame in your head to be like, hey, look, it's bedtime now, right? So if it's 30 minutes before you go to bed and you go make the tea, it's sending a signal to be like, okay, this is sleep time now. We need to start winding down. And I find that that's a really good cue to get yourself in that kind of sleep zone. We then got honey. So honey is actually shown to have some basically relaxing benefits and can release melatonin, I believe, within the body and help release that. And again, like I go to at the start, melatonin really aids in sleep quality. So that's important. You've then got glycine as well. So glycine is very popular on Twitter if you're on that side of Twitter. So the great thing about glycine is it helps with your deep and REM sleep. So when you're asleep, you want to be having dreams. You want to be getting into that latter stage of sleep, which is your REM sleep. So what glycine does is it actually helps you stay and reach that stage a lot more and actually stay asleep into those deeper portions of the sleep stages. So that's why that can be so effective. And what you can do is actually mix all of those things together into a tea. You put the honey in, you put the glycine in, mix it up, and you have that before bed. And that's a really good way to help with improving sleep.
Yeah, it's a really good points there. Yeah, I think I've never tried the glycine honey chamomile tea, but I think when I get a chance, that's going to be the first thing.
You got to get on it, man.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on cardio? How do you think it should be used, especially if someone's trying to lose fat? If the main goal is fat loss, how much cardio should they be doing, and what forms of cardio are best?
It's a great question. So cardio is important for overall health. And when it comes to fat loss, it's not the main priority. Now, again, going back to the levers that are the most important lever for fat loss is going to be your diet. So you need to get your diet in check and you need to get your resistance training in. The reason why these two things are so important is because you want to retain muscle and lose body fat. So the diet is going to help with building muscle and obviously losing body fat. And obviously the training is going to help with building muscle, because you can't just build muscle by sitting there, right? You've got to have some kind of form of resistance to do that. So those two things are going to be really important. When you've got that dialed in, adding in cardio is still a staple. It's still so important. And this can be done through steps. I think most people in the US get between 2,000 to 6,000 steps a day, which isn't a lot. You need to bump that up to like 10,000 a day, ideally. So you can do that on the treadmill. You can get a treadmill desk. You can walk outside and do it. You can listen to a podcast. You can take meetings. You can go for a run and do it. It doesn't matter how you get those steps, but aiming for that is going to be really important. And what I'd recommend is trying to do some form of walking daily. The reason being is that's just going to help with the tightness that you get from sitting, the tightness that you get from working, and also helps remove the lactic acid that you're going to get from resistance training. So if you can go on a daily walk, that's great. Now, if you've gone through a few weeks of maybe doing this, maybe 6 weeks of following this protocol, and maybe your fat loss has stalled a little bit, you're not losing fat at the same rate, you don't look any leaner in the mirror, you've stepped on the scales, maybe, you haven't dropped the pound that you want the past few weeks, then I'd recommend increasing the level of cardio that you do. Now, this can be more steps, this can be going to play paddle, this can go into do some running. The truth is, you want to do something that you actually enjoy, because if you go out for a run, and every time that you run, you can hear your knee going because you're hitting concrete, guess what? It's not good for you. And you're not going to stick to it because it's not going to be sustainable and you're going to fucking hate it. So when it comes to cardio, people are like, well, what's the best form of cardio? Well, the best form is the one that you enjoy and that you can stick to and actually adhere to for a longer period of time, because that's going to give you the most likely chance to be consistent. So that would be my kind of protocol on it. Ideally, in an ideal world, a mix between like high intensity interval training and low intensity is great. But again, using either of those will benefit you as long as you're consistent with it and you do it on a regular basis.
Sure thing. Okay, so it's not the most important lever. It shouldn't be prioritized. People should be doing resistance training as their main lever of exercise that builds muscle and retains muscle and prioritizes fat burning.
Yeah.
But it can be used as a tool later down the line when less fat.
Fantastic. Yep, that's it.
So we've got a few tweets that I saw that I quite like. So one of them is, don't be the guy who chases, be the guy who attracts.
Yeah. I really like this tweet. Not to kind of be big-headed, but I think like this is one of my favorites. Reason being is because I think you should live life from an abundance mindset, okay? And an abundance mindset is being okay with the fact that maybe not everything's going to come your way, and removing like neediness as well. Because, when you chase, it comes from a very needy and desperate and scarcity mindset place, right? So if you say like, I need this, like, I need to have this girlfriend, right? This girl needs to be my girlfriend. So what does that kind of frame create? It creates scarcity, right? It's kind of like, well, why do you need it so badly? Can you not maybe get another one? Or Are you kind of too desperate? Like it sends across the wrong message. And then all of your behavior, you're kind of on this chasing side of things, right? Whereas when you live from a okay, so you want maybe to be successful or you want the healthy body, right? It's from an abundance mindset. It's not necessary, right? It's not necessary. You can want something, but not need it. And that's kind of what chasing and attracting is, because if you can get yourself to a point where, you're not chasing, you're actively going after what you want and pursuing the things that you enjoy and doing that kind of stuff, you then attract the people, the experiences and things that, should be there anyway, because you're not putting out like a needy energy and desperation. Because you always find this, right? When you want something so much, or sorry, when you need something so much, like you never get it because you're always forcing it, right? You're trying to force it into the universe when energy doesn't work like that. Energy likes like an equilibrium, it likes balance. So if you live from a place of, hey, it's not that important, I want this, I'm going to pursue it, you then attract the things that you want. Like it's very, very strange how that happens. And also, if the thing doesn't happen for you and you're okay with it, it allows more things into your life, right? Like that's what abundance is. It's like, this one doesn't work. Okay, cool. The next one will. It's living with that kind of mindset and thinking that you're going to attract more, which I think is a very healthy way to look at life.
Yeah, no, I've listened to a lot of people recently that have been talking a little bit about this, and some people have said even going from an I want perspective you have, and then viewing things like, okay, I have the power to go to the gym, so
Yeah.
rather than I want to get a six pack, I'll go to the gym, and it's changing
Yeah.
from a place of what can you do and what do you get to do, rather than I don't have this. It's like powerful mindset or powerful belief to kind of view the world.
Percent. And think of like, don't chase, attract is the reason why that's important is because it's all about energy. And think of like a win-win situation. So a win-win situation is, okay, I am going out there and doing the things that I want to do without neediness. And then I attract someone or something, an opportunity that also believes in the same thing. But we've come together because we both like want to do it. And it's like a win-win. Whereas when you come from like a chasing point of view, a chase, like the word chase is like something's running away from you, right? So what you're doing is you really want it, but maybe the other opportunity or person doesn't want it. So you're chasing this, right? So that's the wrong energy, like too forceful. You want to have like a balanced energy where you bring it together. So that's what attracting is, right? That's what, attraction is. They don't talk about, you being in a relationship and calling it chasing, right? Like relationships are about attraction, two things coming together, not one person chasing something around.
Yeah, it's like a positive sum game versus
That's
a
it.
zero sum
100%.
game and +1, -1.
Yeah.
And the person that you're chasing is actually not getting something good out of it.
Yeah.
Positive sum game, +1, both people come together and see a benefit.
Yeah. 100%.
Last tweet is, they want you fat, they want you weak, they want you unhealthy. We won't let that happen.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So again, going back to that point about, I think we discussed about kind of like modern society. Like modern society is just not set up for you to win, right? Going back to that happiness point with, you've got the psyops that are going on around, feminism and politics and all this stuff, trying to divide men and women. You've then got the religious side of things, right? Where they don't want religion or a moral code to follow. They want to push degeneracy. And then obviously you've got the social media side of things, right? Where everyone's sharing their highlight reel. There's a lot of fakeness that you could say online a lot of the time. So there are a lot of forces trying to force you to do all this stuff. And I think reason I have my brand, and I'm sure reason why you have your brand, is to actually help people not be programmed by this and register this message in their heads and actually move away from it into something that's going to be better. And we don't want this to happen, right? We want to be healthy. We want to be fit. We want to be fulfilled. We want to be happy. We don't want to be broke. And I think that that really comes from staying away and being self-aware to a lot of the modern society and mainstream stuff that's happening at the minute.
And what role do you think that the government should be playing at the moment that maybe they're not playing in order to help people build a life of happiness and wellness and fulfillment?
100%. I think one of the main things is, and I think this was prevalent during COVID, was, really good understanding of how to have a healthy body and to look after yourself, because I believe everything comes from a healthy body, your relationships, your success in business, your energy levels, the energy and the vibration that you put out is all to do with health. So if the government could teach people actually a food pyramid that was good, right? That was rubbish, right? That would be great. And actually, like, instead of maybe incentivizing big pharma and food industries that promote junk, promoting, local farmers or whole foods, or, even people within the health and fitness industry that are actually trying to do stuff that's, intuitive, getting some of these governing bodies of certain health industries really promoted well So then they can pass down that message down to like the grassroots level and to the younger kids and schools and stuff like that. If they could start educating and putting that as part of the syllabus instead of fucking algebra and all this stuff that, might not be as useful, or trying to recite or remember how many, what the capital of Lithuania is, which you can Google anyway, right? Having a good education on health is so important, I believe.
I completely agree. And like, even if they still want to teach the algebra, if every single kid just had a healthier body, they would just be
Yeah.
better doing the algebra anyway. Like I grew up pretty overweight. That's the reason why I've lost loads of weight now. That's the reason why I've got into this whole thing. I'm really passionate about it. And I was pretty like academic at school, and I just think if I just had healthy food while I was younger, I would have just been way better at all of my academic, and it would have just
Mhm.
put me in such a better place. So I think it definitely needs to be put more. I had literally I had one PE teacher that told me one in my whole time of being overweight as a teenager. He told me one, and he said eat more protein, and that was pretty much the best I ever got. I didn't listen to it, but that, like looking back, that was probably the good advice. Any good piece of advice I got from like literally 15 years of being obese as a child. And so if every other child is going through that at the moment, then it's like, okay, what is going on?
Yeah, 100%. And this is what I sometimes think as well. Like sometimes the people that are put into power or within schools and teachers, they're not the best people to look at as role models, right? So, for example, you take like business teachers, right? And business lecturers. People will be a business lecturer, right? And they're the authority within the university to teach business, but they don't have a business, right? People that are successful in business are not tutoring people on how to run a business, right? Because they're running a fucking business, right? Right? The same as like PE teachers. It's kind of like there are some great PE teachers, but if your PE teacher doesn't really go to the gym and he's not in shape and he's not got a great body, like, is he really the authority to teach you about how to be healthy and live your life for fitness? Probably not, right? So again, looking at these role models, they're not always the best. So I think you should always look from experience of what people have done, what they're currently doing in their life, because that's a much more powerful way to maybe get the knowledge and understanding you need to progress.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think like as well, we're going into this society where young people are less well off than their parents now. And it means that society and what everyone else is doing isn't serving us. Like that is evidence and that is proof. And it shows that you need to do something different if you want to live a good life and you want to be not broke and you want to feel fulfilled and you want to be.
100%. And I think Zuby actually shared this. If anyone knows who Zuby is, he tweets a lot on Twitter, but he shared something about like inflation rates, right? How they're increasing. And, in like 25 years or something like people that are born now, it's going to take 25 years more to like buy a house or pay off a house, right? Because of the inflation rates and the costs going up. And you have to think, well, how are we going to afford that? Like, how are we going to do this? And I tell you what, it doesn't happen by doing the exact same as everyone else and having the same work ethic and being complacent, which a lot of people do, right? You're gonna have to find a way to make up that ground of what's been going on because times have changed. It's more competitive. There's access to a lot more things now. You can become a millionaire very quickly, but there's also the trade-offs of there are big food industries attacking you with their adverts and big pharma being the second biggest advertiser in the US. So there's a lot of things attacking you. And there's also opportunities. So you've got to try to find a way to do this. And like you said, it's about not doing the same as what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a very good point to look at what everyone else was doing and run away. If there's one point from the podcast, anyone take just run away from the math. Right. One quick 5 questions to
Sure.
wrap this up. If you had to pick one meal to have for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One meal. What a great question. So does it have to be healthy or can it just be
Yeah, you only have to eat this every single day for the rest of your life. That's the only thing.
okay, cool, man. I would have steak, egg, some kind of potato chips with some form of salad. You're going to get the steak, so you've got the protein, you've got the meat, it's going to help with testosterone. I like eggs as well. I think eggs are great for you. Like eat eggs every day, so that's not a problem. You're getting your vitamins with that. Then obviously you've got like the not so good side, maybe like the sweet potato fries. Like they're just going to taste good each day. You're not going to want to torture yourself. Then obviously you've got some vegetables, which are going to be good for you. So that would be like the meal. The only thing I think we're missing there is fruit and fish. But again, it's only one meal, so I'd have to cut those out and go for steak.
Nice one. No, I like that. What's your favorite go-to leg exercise?
So my favorite go-to leg exercise recently is actually a Smith machine squat. Now, the reason being is you can replicate a squat without all of the back pain and injuries and niggles that are going to happen. And someone like me, to say that I squatted, I've squatted a lot. I mean, in my early 20s, I was squatted twice a week, very heavy, bell, wrap, squatting shoes and shit like that. And I got myself up to a 4 plate aside squat, which was a lot, but that put a lot of pressure on my lower back. So to get the gains that you need, it's really just about increasing volume and minimizing injury. So you can do that very well with a Smith machine squat. So yeah, that's one of my go-tos.
Is there any issues with the Smith machine squat? Obviously, it's like a straight range of motion, and when you actually do a barbell squat, you're going slightly like that.
Yeah, so that's one downside of doing it, but you can adjust your feet a little bit to adjust that to the side. You can also move them like more narrow to hit your quads. So again, it's not absolutely perfect, but when you're thinking about injury prevention, it's probably gonna be a lot safer on your lower back than doing a barbell squat.
Okay, sure. And I guess obviously in a normal life, you'd have loads of other exercises.
Of course, right? It's not the only one. Yeah, yeah.
Favorite fitness influence?
Oh, apart from myself, can I say? No, I'm only joking. One of my favorite fitness that I grew up with watching, and he's not around anymore, is Greg Plitt. I don't know if you've heard of Greg Plitt before. So if you Google him, Greg Plitt is like the OG of like fitness motivation. Like he was one of the original fitness models that went on like Muscle and Fitness and stuff. And if you search on YouTube Greg Plitt like motivational videos, you can go on there and like see him like ranting in the gym, like fucking shredded, right? Talking about fitness and building like this fucking mindset. And a lot of the mindset that I think I've built is from a lot of the videos that like Greg Plitt used to do, right? Like he'd walk into a gym shredded. He's like, all these fucking people looking at me. He's like, I don't care, man. Like, I don't want to be like them. Like, I'm here for me. They're still sleeping. I've done my fucking hardcore shit. Like, I kind of like that when I was in my early teens, like growing up, to get motivated to go to the gym. So he was great. I think he had a really good message. So yeah, he'd be my OG favorite.
And I'll definitely have a look afterwards. And favorite cheat meal?
Favorite cheat meal. My favorite cheat meal has to be pizza. Pizza, like a pizza with some form of like wings on the side, like loads of fucking mayo, chili sauce, all that stuff is great. So whenever I have like a cheat day, like pizza and like wings that are really unhealthy are always on the menu with like loads of sauce and stuff.
And what do you think the most important? The base, the tomato, or the cheese on the pizza?
I think it's none of those. I think it's the topping. The topping. The topping's number one, man. Like it's not the fucking, and definitely it's not pineapple, bro. If you have pineapple on a pizza, you're a nonce, man. It's not cool. Yeah, I really like pepperoni or like beef pepperoni on my pizza, man. Like with the cheese, tomato base, man. That's elite.
And last one, if you're opening a gym, what would you call it?
If I was opening the gym, what would I call it? That's a really good question. And I haven't really thought about it. Maybe something like hot chicks only. I don't know. Something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, man, it was really good to chat to you. It was a really interesting conversation. And I think there's whoever does listen, hopefully get a lot of value from that about lifestyle, about running away from the masses, about not having pineapple on the. But yeah, it was really good to connect with you and learn from you as well.
Thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.